Just starting with some injury updates. Jalen Mahoney practiced today. Still questionable for the game. We'll see how he responds after the day of work, but looked good. Excited to have him back. BJ Anderson's questionable. He was able to practice Tuesday. Yesterday had a soft tissue issue, so we're preparing and planning for him not to be there. Want to give him a chance, though. I think this is just a matter of his, just feeling right. And if we can get him back, he'll be available for us. If not, we have a plan ready. AJ Swan practiced today. He'll be available Saturday. Obviously, he had a great day Tuesday. Wednesday, a little setback, but today was fine. To Ricky Wright, still working his way back. Wasn't at practice today. Questionable for Saturday. He's a guy that if he ultimately feels good enough, he'll be inserted in the game. If he doesn't, we'll hold him off. We'll wait till the last moment to make that decision. Savion Riley's out. Hopefully looking for a return next week. Junior Azibu's out. A return that's going to be longer term, so not sure on Junior. Grayson Morgan's available. Was able to practice yesterday and today, feeling better. And then Christian James, Aria, was in pads today and has been able to return to some football activity, and hoping, if there are no setbacks, that he is able to get back into practice next week. Again, I want to hold off on saying that's a guarantee just because we've got to see how he responds. But excited to have him back in pads. We have a great challenge this weekend. I think the team's done a nice job responding and preparing well. But it's just like the last 2 weeks for us. It's about now what we make happen on game day. We know we have to play mistake-free. It's not going to be perfect, but we have to eliminate some of the self-imposed wounds. We have to defensively play within structure and cap vertical shots. And if we can do those two things, protect the ball and play our structural defense, we should be able to play a competitive game where it's going to be a back and forth. And similar to last season, anytime you get into the league play, every game is going to be tough, and so much of Saturday will be about how we respond to adversity when it shows up, because it will show up. With that, I'm happy to open the questions.
With responding to adversity, how do you think that shows up in a team, and is that coach-led generally, or player-led, or is that a little bit of both?
The best teams, it's player-led. I think in my heart, I want us to be to that point here. But what I'm recognizing is that there's still a need for us to interject as coaches, and that's okay. We have a bunch of guys that are paying attention, and they want to be good, and a coach's responsibility is to lead them into good. And so I believe that the best teams on game day give energy to each other, support each other, find ways to have impact even when they're not on the field, to influence performance with that level of energy and connection. I think bad teams on game day look like every man's an island. And what we have to do is take the connection that we built as a program from January forward in training, and we have to, on Saturday, not allow the adversity to break it up and break it apart. And that's all, to me, about isolating feelings and choices, feelings and actions, feelings and behaviors. You're going to have feelings over the course of a game, particularly when you invest so much in it, where you're going to have some highs and lows. The ability to keep, those waves small, and the ability to step into the action needed through your feelings is what, to me, defines a great competitor. When you have 115 guys that are doing that, that's when you have force of team. And so certainly there are things on the field that we want to see clean up, but we also are looking for that competitive personality as a program still. And I do think those things link up, because when you see performance kind of spill out, like happened last weekend, we're not yet interjecting and imposing, dictating the terms to swing the momentum back in our favor. And that's what we need to do to take the next step. And so we've been focusing on it, we've been talking about it. Now we have to have another chance to actualize it, and I'll be excited to be out there with the guys to do that.
Being back for 2 straight home games, how important do these games become with the 2 losses on the road?
I mean, I think it's our vantage point. Every game's important, and no matter where it's played, and I understand what the context or what the narrative would be, but for us internally, they're all important, and no matter where they're played, we're going to step in and hopefully put forth our best effort and play our best football, and come what may. Because the lesson we learned last year is that if you stay the course, you keep doubling down on your process, that you will find a way to a breakthrough point. And for us last year, it happened on the road in the league. Hopefully for us this year, it happens at home in the league. But no matter what, we have to have the discipline internally not to project or try to predict what may or may not happen after this result. If it's the result we want, we have to reset and refocus to the next one. If it's not the result we want, we can't let it steal our spirit either way.
With playing against somebody who was with your program as a coach, how do you kind of toe the line between acknowledging that that's something, but also not letting it become, the story around your program?
I've talked about it externally because I get asked about it, and I get that. We haven't talked about it at all internally. So we don't ever make an opponent the focus of our process. It's all about us. We certainly don't make a player on another team the focus of our process or our preparation, other than to say we look at the strengths of the opponent and we try to neutralize them in our plan. And obviously Ray's a good player, and he's a guy that on the field needs our attention because he's a great weapon for them, just like he was for us, and we have a ton of respect for him. But the game is still about 11 guys against 11 guys, and so we have to have a plan to play within structure, and hopefully if we can execute that, we're able to keep their game in check, and we have a good afternoon.
You talk about how you always focus on yourself and not the opponent. The past couple games, it feels like there's been a lot of times where you were kind of beating yourself with turnovers and other things, bad snaps, whatever. So do you change that process at all when that's happening?
I think the goal is to say we understand in our preparation, our process, what it takes to prepare a team to play. Every weekend you're getting feedback on where you are, but I would argue that when you're having self-imposed wounds like we are, and we experienced this a year ago too. I mean, I can go back to the Wake Forest game a year ago, and there was a sequence of events there at the end of the first quarter that were really unfortunate, where we gave up control over the game. The Ole Miss game, where we had a lead at halftime, we turned the ball over, and so it's not like this is new. The self-imposed wounds don't mean that all of a sudden you shift attention internally. You do the best you can to design training to put guys in situations where maybe we're careless with the ball, maybe there's a fundamental technical aspect. Obviously, with the punt snap last week, it's just about going out and executing that punt snap more and gaining confidence back in that. With the punt return situation, it's about putting the returners in a position where they have people around them and they have to make the decisions. But to me, you train the skills that maybe aren't showing up, or that you layer in that training so that you feel like you've gone a little bit further, but you never deviate from the process or the focus.
What are some things or areas that give you confidence that you can get maybe more of the results you're hoping for moving forward?
Well, I think a lot of you said the areas that give me confidence?
Yeah, some of more of the positive things, I guess.
Well, the positive is that, like Arya said, it's self-imposed wounds. So, I mean, I think cleaning the game up becomes a way for us to get closer to being the team we want to be. If we didn't feel like we were good enough in terms of our personnel, and I'm talking strictly about talent, then that would be very discouraging. But we don't feel that way. We feel like we are good enough, but we have to play a game that's connected and aligned, and that's where we're out of sync. And some of that, I think, is psychological. Some of it is training. Some of it's fundamental technical. And it's not the absence of training before, the Wake Forest game or before the UNLV game. It's doubling down and maybe layering and making more detailed. And so in any situation, no different than a year ago, we don't look at this and say, we're helpless or hopeless. We say, look at the control we have, look at the areas we can focus on to take an attitude towards improvement. And when you do that, you get better, and that's our goal, is let's just get better. we're going to clean up some of the things that we've had show up and be issues. Once we do that, we're going to play a better game and have a chance to put some pressure on the opponent. That's the goal.
Anything else? Thank you.